Thank you. All right, the time is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm Justice Graves, Chairman, and this is a meeting of the Capital Improvements Committee on this 7th day of November 2023. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I just want to make note that we do have a quorum of our committee members here this evening. We have Mr. Toth, Mr. Francis, and Mr. Innocent, and myself. We are being streamed live on TCTV, on YouTube, and on Channel 8. Is anybody else recording this meeting? All right, seeing none. We may have a committee member, ex officio, that comes in on Zoom, but at this time she isn't. So just so that everybody is aware of that. With that, we will go into our first agenda item to approve the minutes of prior meetings. In front of you are the minutes of October 24th and of October 10th. Does anybody have any corrections or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
having had a chance to review these, I don't have any questions or comments. I would motion that we accept as presented.
Okay. I do want to start you. I do have one correction. It's a typo that I noticed. Where it says on the October 10th minutes, amendment of capital bylaw chapter 9-7. It looks like that Lori Vita's name was transposed. It was me who told the committee that this amendment was by the treasurer collector. We're there to add the language to the bylaw. Lori didn't present that, so that's the only correction that I would recommend.
I would amend my motion
That's okay.
as corrected. Good catch. I missed that one.
All right. All right. So we have an amended motion. Do I have a second? Second. Right. Motion second. Do I have any discussion? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. Mr. Toth.
Yes.
Mr. Francis.
Yes.
Ms. Richardson. Yes. I vote yes as well. That was unanimous 4-0. And that was for both sets of minutes, correct? Which is that?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So with that, we're going into our department reviews. In speaking, I've already been asked by one of the presenters to go first today just because of time constraints. Does anybody else have a time constraint? Mr. Nope. Bob, are you all set? Okay. All right. So Dr. Casby, I know you have a time constraint. If you'd like to come up first for the committee members, it is the last portion of your packet, the NRSD requests. All right, Dr. Cassidy, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. So we've been through this process, several times in my tenure, and normally, given that it's the district, we have a capital budget request, or we have our form looks very, very different, quite frankly. But what we did do is we put, after some conversations with some folks from the town, and of course our facility subcommittee, we took two of the I guess most pressing of the issues from our capital budget or capital improvement plan to present to the town this evening. So I don't want to I certainly don't want to rehash something that folks already know, but the two projects that we deem as high priority, and again, I can go back to the actual list, which I'll reference throughout this presentation, but it's the inner driveway of the middle school, high school. Again, it's in significant disrepair. We've we have drains that are starting to collapse, and we've of course have patched and done all of those type of things over the years. And it's getting to the point like, well, just like roads, because it is a hard surface, that it's just to the point now where we really can't patch it any longer. And we're getting, and we have probably approximately 200 to 300 cars come through there every day. So it's probably 100 cars for drop off and 100 cars for pickup, approximately. The buses no longer go through that inner loop because we have the buses pick the students up in back of the building now. So in order to help alleviate traffic on Baldwinville Road. But in any event, that's a project that we've been chasing for quite some time. We've again hot patched. We've had the drains basically pulled back up, leveled out, but they're starting to collapse. And of course, we have people who get in and out of cars every day there, and so that would be again on the upper end of our priority list. The other, which is always a topic, something that we're always looking to improve, is school security. As you know, and we talked about it quite a bit, we secured a $120,000 federal grant last year. We made all kinds of upgrades to our camera system, to our doors, to the way we notify and communicate with the public, etc. Our next big step is to, on the inner doors of both middle and high school, given when the buildings were built, those don't lock. And so really the only door that is locked, of course, is the door from outside to in. And that is, of course, buzzed. They are buzzed in to there. But there's inherent issues with that, because if someone opens the door, someone can scoot in there, and of course now has access to the building. So like the elementary school, which is brand new, in general, you get let into one door and then you're kind of trapped, quote unquote, for a bit, almost like a sally port, where you need to be buzzed into the next level of our entryway, which is really the access to the school. We don't have that ability at the middle and high school because the buildings were built when this was not necessarily a concern. So again, before you have that quote. That's really our next step in to continue to secure the buildings as best that we can. Cameras come with that. In essence, what happens is you're able to we just had Alice training today for all the teachers, for the entire district, but it's really about a matter of slowing the progress down of an active shooter. Right. So if both of those doors are locked and they have tempered glass, etc., that's more time that a person would need to take to get into the building itself. So that's why schools are now designed automatically like that, and probably like a lot of office buildings, to be quite frank, right? So those are the two projects that really rose to the top when we started to think about projects that we would like to see accomplished, need assistance accomplished off of of course, our original list, which still has the roof, and it still has, these very, very large projects that are going to take some level of borrowing by both towns, right, for the regional, middle and high school. Like, for example, the roof, that'll have to be something that we go through the MSBA, to that effect. So in regards to the projects, that's where we sit. I certainly don't want to overspeak it, because it's right in front of you. Some of these items have been on our list for quite some time, although with the help of Anne Marie, who's back, who's the business manager, we've actually been able to check off quite a few of these projects on our own, using either grant funds, Representative Zlotnick at this point in time secured money to help us, to continue our HVAC work, because that's been an ongoing goal of ours. We've done quite a bit of work there, we still have more to go. Again, we've taken care of using Rule 8 for baseball dugouts. They were collapsing. If you've ever been back there, they were collapsing, and they were literally starting to sink into this kind of, swamp. so to speak. So we got the drainage fixed. We're replacing those. So we're absolutely going through and doing the type of projects that we can that are well within or that are within our scope of our budget. Some of the bigger items, of course, are still on there. Again, I refer back to the roof and the repaving of the large parking lot, but given that it's the regional, it would probably be a conversation for both towns. So I think I'll just stop there because, you know, I don't want to go too far if there's some specific questions about what I've presented, you know, thus far.
Okay.
I have
My first question is regarding the paving. Right, I noticed you said the $221,000 cost was verbally quoted in 2021, right? Have you had any more recent conversations?
We're trying real hard, but as you know, paving companies are out getting their last work done. And so they've been slow to respond to us, honestly. So we have contacted a couple. Many, certainly folks know that we need to go out to bid for items this expensive. So they don't really jump over each other to come out to take the time to give us a quote because they know we're going to have to go out for bid anyway on projects this large. So I would fully expect, quite frankly, that once it really starts to get cold and they can't pave, we'll hear from them. But right now they're pretty much straight out from what we understand, what we have called.
And as a follow-up, I know on the town side, we've been talking about $175,000 of paving that needs to be done with 3 different projects. They add up to $175,000. And it just seems to me if this was added to those 3 paving projects, that it might be some savings there. I just want to make you aware of that.
Yeah. So certainly that would be
town
probably
side.
part of the bid, you know, that I would imagine would be bid probably as one, obviously one large project, because this is what I'm hearing from you, know, so that would obviously be a cost savings. We have yet to been able to get a price for this specifically. We know that some of the work that not some of the most expensive, but some of the work that needs to be done is those drains need to be, I'm going to use the word fixed because I got to tell you, this is out of my realm of expertise, but they're going to have to be redone because they're just not set correctly any longer, and they continue to cave in. So there's some work there. There's some drainage work that needs to be done. As we were told back in 21 when we actually had the folks come out and say, well, you got to fix this. This is going to be a thing. We just haven't been able to get folks back to give us a more recent updated quote.
My other question, actually, I very much appreciate the fact that the other capital project request was for to create a trap. A couple weeks ago when we talked with Chief Bennett, we talked about that very issue about whether or not the police department would fund the traps for you. And you know, Chief Bennett said that he thought it was more in your area because it was your building.
Yeah.
And I very much appreciate the fact that you have brought that forward because I think that is really something that's very, very important.
It is, and certainly not to bring up, you know, negative and sad topics, but when you look at the last year event, which was in Tennessee, private school, the shooter had to come in both doors. That's time. It took 14 minutes for the police to respond. It took, I think, a couple of minutes for them to get. So if you think about that, that's really what you're buying in with that. So we acknowledge that. We also know that it's a building project. Absolutely, you know, it falls under NRSD. Well, it does in the regional. Obviously, in that building, one could, you know, suggest that it's both towns would have to, of course, you know, have some type of input onto that. And I would certainly, in my input, I mean money. The other project, though, that's also encapsulated in this is the tempered glass, and the PD was very helpful in getting us the quote. So when you go into the Templeton Elementary School, you go in through what I'm going to call a Sally Port, which is not the real name for that. But you have access to the receptionists. right? Our secretaries, for whatever reason, there's just a very thin sliding glass, I'm gonna call it a door, okay? It's really single pane. It doesn't make any sense because now you have access to really, you could just honestly just jump right through that. I mean, it wouldn't take much. So we do have a part of that is to fix that. And to replace that with like glass that you would have when you walk into the police department and you speak to the dispatcher, okay, to give you kind of the visual. And it needs to be framed differently. It's very heavy glass, of course, and stuff, but that's part of that. We lump that all into one project because I didn't want to split it out necessarily, but that's in here as well.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, if that's all that you have to present, Dr. Cassidy, then thank you for attending your meeting.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Moving right along, we're gonna jump right back up to the beginning of our packet, the Department of Public Grievances, so Bob, if you want to let them present.
Good evening. Your last meeting. Holly kind of brushed up on, FY 24's capital on the statuses. And she did good, but just wanted to give you more of an update. On my responsibilities. The swamp loader has been ordered for a couple of months now. We don't expect to see it till spring. The software for the highway department, we just signed an agreement a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And we are scheduling a kickoff meeting to get that going. Zero turn mower has been purchased and in use. The street sign replacement program, putting together the order for this phase. The community stand pilot shed, projecting to start construction on that tomorrow. Town hall electrical panel, we are still working on phase 2. I think Polly said that it was completed, but it's not. We'll still have a couple more panels we have to replace. The water wheel has been purchased and it's winterized in storage for now. Baptist Common cemetery access, that's in the workings. Met with conservation, marked some trees, and took what they had under consideration, how they would like us to perform the removal of the trees and what works to be done. The hay walls are out there now, waiting for inspection from conservation. Once that's done and accepted, then we'll start tree work. But that project probably won't be completed until late spring or summer. The town hall cupola, that hasn't gone out to bid yet. And the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, that's, we just received another bid, which would be voted on tomorrow night, I believe. And with that being said, I know Jackie presented a new wheelchair van. The one they currently have will be out of service at the end of the stick. I like the hole underneath this, brought it out, you can't even weld to it. It's in disarray. With that being said, that I think she mentioned the Scion on its way out as well, which already, we converted a cruiser for her to use, which I'm gonna do again. Put the seats and all of that, it was a mess, but she took delivery of that last week. So that should buy her a couple of years for a vehicle on that. Now, you ready to jump in the highway? Sure. All right. So your first item you're looking at is, it's a road widener. This is after we pave a road, we go back, fill behind the berm or the shoulder of the road with material, whether it's loom grindings, millings, gravel, otherwise. It's a great tool. It'll eliminate two people doing the job, and you're gonna get 3 times as much plenty of feet done per day than having 4 guys working material out of the truck. And we're looking to share this cost with Winchendon. I think it'll work out great for the both Templeton and Winchendon. Because you're gonna be able to, you won't need it all summer. You won't do your job and then the next town can use it or vice versa. It attaches on the front of the front end loader and your truck dumps into it. And it conveys the material out and levels it at the same time. So all you have to do is have a highway guy compacting the load on the product that's put in place. Any questions on that?
I just have one, Mr. Chair. Where would we plan to garage this?
Either location, it don't matter. Whoever has the most area. If I use it last, I'm sure it'll be at my place, so he needs it. He uses it for it, you know what I'm saying? It's not that far from one another, so.
That was actually my question. Where, sorry,
Didn't mean to steal your thunder.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
Have you discussed with Winchendon, sharing of repair costs or?
It's very minimal, if a repair is needed, I come up with a, you know, if a bearing goes or something, a bearing's not gonna be that bad. Conveyor belt will be share of cost anyways. We'll have them split the bill, like, almost stuff we're doing with the grind machine. Yeah, the conveyor belt's $1,000. The company will invoice both of us and we'll just put our share on it.
And you're comfortable with that?
I'm very comfortable with it, yeah.
Cheryl? That was my question. Okay. Questions, so.
Okay. The next item is, again, we've done this before, is a skid steer loader. Which will be, it's a very handy universal machine. We can use it along with the sidewalk machine, get the sidewalks done at a faster pace after a storm. We can use it out on the road for as backfilling and limit the space, keeping the road open. We can put a mill head on it and it betters the patch holing. You have a plow hole, you go mill it out real quick and sweep it out, and it gives a rough area for it to actually bind to and last a lot longer. It's used 12 months out of the year. We can use it around at the elementary school for snow removal and assisting in plowing up around that mess. And with the great asset for the highway department. There's no questions on that. Next slide. You got the question on that?
I noticed in looking at the bid request that there's like 1 speed and a 2-speed option. Does that affect the cost much?
Yeah, it's a high flow. You need a high flow to run a mill head for like if you ever put a snowblower attachment on it. It's a difference in the hydraulic system.
So is what you are trying to purchase a 2-speed?
It's 2-stage, 2-speed. Yes.
Thank you.
Have any questions? Nope. No. All right.
The next item is for, half-ton pickup truck. My thoughts were, actually Pat was here, handing down vehicles. This would replace my truck, and my truck would replace the one that we currently borrow or are using from the sewer department. Between both departments, it's a shared pickup. It's, use it for parts, we use it for extra help working in 2 different locations on buildings and grounds, highway, to run a barrel or something out, or, run it for parts. The vehicle we have now is, like I said, it's a Ford. It's got a reject sticker on it, and it's pretty much checking out. Yep, the next item is again for, another 6-wheel, F-750. The trucks we're gonna be getting, this would complete the 5 truck set I need. And the quote is with, what I've been spec'ing in the past and presented to you.
Any questions?
I just have one. This is above and beyond the ARPA request that the select board recently took action on.
Like I said, this would, complete the 5 I needed. I have 2, we'll get 2 more, and this will make the 5th one.
Do we have any kind of a indication on delays on build right now for vehicles? Because I know Ford Super Duty plant is closed due to the UAW strikes.
Yeah, they were, I don't know if this was to go through, what the timing would probably be a year and a half.
Thank you.
Yep. No other questions. The next item is, front end loader. I know we did one a couple of years ago. Original plan was the one that we originally had a couple of years ago, to move down to the second loader and purchase a new loader. So with the issues that loader had, we decided to trade it in and go with the new loader. The second loader now is, very rotted out. Stuff doesn't work. It's, mechanically failing on a lot of things, and we need to think about replacing that. If this loader here is a size smaller, one size smaller than what we got 2 years ago, and it's a little cheaper.
Questions?
No other questions. We'll, move into buildings and grounds. First item on buildings and grounds, is a self-contained trailer. This would be used for putting all the burial equipment and devices and plywood and sheathing, and, keeping it contained and dry, and they can just go and bring it to the, the graveside, instead of unloading, hanging, unburying the stuff. It'll be more, accessible and easier to get it to the site. Moving on to the next item. This mower, we keep our tractors in 0 turns in rotation. If you look at the quote, the craw is a stand behind, and then a lawn tractor as well. So I can get those two items. If we go to the quote for a regular John Deere tractor, it's pretty expensive. And I can get two pieces of equipment for less than what the price for a John Deere mower is.
Cheryl? No, okay.
The next item again, I had this in the past, replacing the rest of the windows here at Town Hall. Still got some wooden frame ones, we still got some over here, for example, that are still messed up, and we like to put the ones in and trim them out like the ones behind you. There's one in the kitchen, there's a few of them around us with complete and update the rest of the windows here.
Questions on that one? No. No. Okay,
So, nothing yet. So this last item, I don't know, probably sent to you. About the things.
I have it.
Yep. This just came in this morning, at home. Thank you. I apologize, it's all came in, signed last Friday. So last Friday, I was notified by Little Oil, because they were going around doing the furnace cleanings. That there are 7 tanks that are well over 30 years old that need to be replaced. Any tanks over 30 years old, oil companies are not supposed to fill them due to a high risk and possible leak of oil. So I said, oh boy. So if it wasn't capital season, it would have been a emergency spending. So I talked to them. They're willing to work with me. When they fill them, they'll check them. When my guys go around, check the buildings, they'll check them. They said they would fill them through this winter. But I told them I'd like to go through the process of capital and how it works. So the oil tanks would be whatever products in them will be pumped out, stored, new tank removed, old tank removed, new tank put in, plumbed, hooked up, and the product put back in. So it was an average of $3,800 per tank. The Serb building's a little difficult, it's laying on its side. And not of a good area. They have a possible bad area to reinstall a new one. So I just, like I said, I got these this morning. I already had the capital sheet done. I was rounding it off to about $4,000 a piece, so 24,000. From their quotes, you're looking at 18,850. I think it would be smart to keep it near that 24 mark, because those times when the tanks might go up for the labor, the steel, to do this. And if we don't do it, we won't get no oil next year. So it's something I wasn't aware of, or neither in the past since I've been here. Nobody said the tanks are coming up for expiration. The only part I don't like is they all gotta be done at the same time, so in 30 years, I have to do it all over again. But I don't think I'll have to worry about that. So this is a pretty good priority, and it's maybe a must that it's gotta happen. How it happens, I don't know. Like I said, this is too new to present anything to Harper, or I believe they have a plan in place for Harper. Whether or not go through capital and buy into next July and get it done by then. Nothing I in my budget, I already replaced 2 of the tanks out of my budget at the Baldwinville fire station. There's 3 tanks there, and I just completed one before the heating season started. We did one last year.
Have any questions or comments?
I just have an observation. I noticed on the capital project form, 7 oil tanks, 3 at town hall, but I only see 2 on the proposal.
Yeah, there, if you look, you'll see the gallon difference. I believe those are
Okay.
400-gallon tanks.
Okay.
And they're a double wall tank, so you won't have the third tank.
And I don't see anything for the Scout Hall building. Not sure if that was an oversight or.
So I might have forgot to print that one out. So you'll have to check my computer.
Just keeping the numbers clean, that's all. Thank you.
Have any questions or comments?
Oh, yes, it was.
Cheryl? No. I don't have any questions either. Oliver? So,
Thank you. Oh, that'll be a happy guy, I guess.
good luck. Well, thank you, Bob.
Well, thank you. Would be nice.
Bob?
Yeah.
Question, are you presenting the Parks and Rec one, or is that supposed to be somebody else? I'm just curious.
She never, your mother never gave me nothing to present.
That's fine. All right, that's fine, Bob. So I don't see anyone from Parks and Rec here right now. Why don't we have Water come up and present their project?
I know she reached out to me asking for contractors and stuff, and
Yeah,
I don't know how she made out.
okay.
Evening, everyone. Oh, must admit, mine's not gonna be very entertaining. But essentially, I'm just here to be very brief. The Apple Water Department, we we would like to request 300,000 of the ARPA funds to assist in paying for the new water main going in down here at East Templeton roundabout front. The project itself will be finished tomorrow, which is nice. The water department has already paid out $300,000 to go towards the project. And an additional, the project total was just shy of $600,000 prior to some additional costs that nobody thought about, so we had to have a couple change orders included in the project, which I don't have a quote in front of me, but there were about $35,000 extras that we had to pay for. So that 300,000 would help us out a lot to be free and clear of payment up front.
Maybe Mr. Toth knows more than I do being on the select board. I just am wondering about the timing. It seemed like this expense came up very, very quickly.
It certainly did. Yeah, just good.
No, if you want to finish your thought.
Well, it just, I guess I'm still not sure why it came up so quickly. Was it you started digging and found extra expense, or?
As far as the original cost of putting the water main in general, is the biggest reason for it was the timing of trying to get water main in before this rotary project was built. There's 70-year-old asbestos concrete water mains under high pressure. There's high pressure water pressure here in the center of town. We've all seen what a modern rotary looks like nowadays with its granite, the brickwork, the concrete work.
You don't want to be tearing that up.
And that's exactly what was going to happen if we didn't do it in this order. We had a water main break there in the center of that intersection last summer. And it was quite a task between fixing the water main and the traffic. And one thing I'd like to add is that intersection, the intersection of 4 water mains. It's not just one single pipe running down through the middle of it. It's the junction of 4. And it is directly underneath the center of where that road is going to be. So when I took this position over in January and noticed that nobody had moved forward with getting that work done, from a construction standpoint, I felt that it was necessary to get it done. And even though it is expensive, AFMRL, the company doing it, was willing to work it out as a change order, which streamlines any permitting processes, things like that. DOT gave us their blessing as long as we did everything within the scope of their work, because that's a DOT owned project. So even though it is expensive, we weren't going to get out of it any cheaper. The permits were already pulled. DOT had everything in place to just do a change order, and this AFMRL company has a lot of experience doing water main work. So from a construction standpoint, it made the most common sense to do that. And the other, if we didn't do that, there was going to be water main breaks there for who knows how long. And it was never going to be one finished project if we were to just continue fixing water main breaks underneath that existing road. Right now, the way it stands is we've got 40+ years of very reliable service from this water main project. Now it's going to be underneath that rubber that we won't have to worry about for a very long time. all made of ductile iron pipe, very well made. The guys down here did a really, really good job. And it's one of these improvements for the town that I feel like living in town, working in town. It's one of the projects that we're not gonna have to worry about for a long time. With the reliability of the water main plus the traffic. You know, it'll be a big improvement to the center of town for quite a while.
No, we have any questions? It's just somewhat confused. This.
It's just a comment, general comment. I'm gonna take off all my hats. I'm just speaking as a citizen. I know this was presented to the Board of Selectmen about 2 months ago, and there were actions taken. This is actually not something that should be coming in front of capital, because capital has no say on how the ARPA funds get expended. That is solely at the discretion of the board. So while I understand the intent and the purpose of this, it's actually a point of order. It's out of line.
Well,
And because the work has already been agreed to, committed, progressed. And where I want to be very cautious is ARPA cannot be used to replenish something. The ARPA expenditure had to go the way it was presented to the board.
Right.
It's ARPA is not something we want to mess up, because when they snatch it back, they take everything. And we don't want to see that.
Yeah, I guess this is more, a question I had, but it's really more because I think you know a little bit more about it is with the ARPA funds that are left, is this $300,000? I mean, are we getting any more ARPA money, or is that?
No, what we have is what we have, and this is the year to get it all on paper, what we're going to do. It's got to be expended. By next, actually December 25, it needs to be expended. Everything has to now be on paper and committed. And there's a whole sequence of events from the Treasury Department, and how the ARPA plays out. Because we're at year 3 of the ARPA funding.
Right, you have to commit the funding before a certain period, and then you have to expend it before a certain period. I can't remember the dates, but I know that we're within.
You're running out of
getting to
time.
1 year. period.
December 25 is sticking in my mind, is we have to have all the bills pretty much paid.
So this will be one of those bills that are in the lineup, so it's.
I don't have the select board notes in front of me. I know this was discussed at length. And I thought we had already committed and executed to this.
I believe that you had, but I remember you guys taking a vote on that, the selectmen taking a vote on that, and then explicitly stating that a presentation should be made to capital after the fact. I do remember that part, if I'm not mistaken.
Someone in the audience had also brought that up as well.
Yeah,
Well, I guess my question is, I'm not, I'm not quite sure what our goal should be. I mean, I just feel we should do whatever we can to benefit the town. And obviously, expending the ARPA funds is a benefit.
My interpretation, this is strictly my
No,
interpretation.
I understand.
Capital right now is first pass on everything budget. So we get all these requests and proposals in front of us. And then we have a report that we need to produce in the next 6 weeks or so. And have that pushed forward, but to be fully transparent and putting everything we have on the table, I understand why we're doing this, but like I said, my personal belief, it's kind of a point of order thing. I think we have it slightly out of sequence, but I understand why we're doing it.
And now I understand why we're doing it, and I appreciate
So
it.
sorry if I muddied the copy on that.
Okay, so wait, it's a sequence. I got
Yep.
it. I got it.
And we're talking significant dollar amounts. All of these projects.
Cheryl, do you have any comments or questions? No. Okay. All right, I don't have any other comments, so we'll get to this. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank
Thank
you. very
you.
much.
Thank you for your time.
You as well. Have a good evening.
Right. Since nobody was here to request for Parks and Recreation, I'm just gonna ask the committee, do we want? Because we do have 2 meetings dedicated to department, not to department review, to developing our recommendations. Do we want to request that somebody from Parks and Recreation comes there to present this, or are we okay with the submission as they have done it? Add that to the agenda for the next meeting.
I thought that the requests were pretty straightforward. I did have one question, but maybe that's something, my one question would be, it appears that, before the town meeting next week, there are a couple articles about the Houghton Park. One of the requests for fencing the Houghton Park. And I'm just wondering if community preservation funds will also be applied to the fence.
That is a good question.
Valid question.
Do you
It
want-
seems like they're so related.
No, I agree. Do you want me to send an email and get a response on that and share that with the committee so that we're aware of that?
I think that would work. Yeah.
Okay,
It's really the one question I had about,
I can send that out and then I can disperse it to everybody as a separate item once I get that.
We could do that, or we can put it as a placeholder in our next agenda if there's any additional explanation needed.
That's what I was gonna
Have,
say.
have Parks and Rec present.
Do we want them to present at the next meeting? We can add an agenda item that. I think that would be appropriate. Is that what you're suggesting, Mr. Toth, that we do that?
I think it would be fair.
Okay.
I really do.
All right,
I agree with Mr. Francis looking at this. I think I can understand the spirit and the intent here, but I just want to make sure we're not missing something that's obscure or somewhere down in the minutia.
Cheryl, do you have any input or?
No, I agree. Somebody should come. I mean, everybody else showed up and presented their plans and
And then the only other thing, if we had any other questions for any of the previous ones, does anyone want me to send out any questions so that we could have those when we're developing the recommendations? Does anyone have any last minute questions they want us to, or is everything so far?
I know in my preparation, I went through all the documents and I presented my questions at the meeting. They were working on it.
I think all the requests have been fairly straightforward as we formulate our final recommendation and report, that if we have a question, we still have some time, that if we need to invite somebody in for a clarification.
I think, Mr. Chair, I do have a question as to what your thoughts are as far as developing final recommendations. You know, what the process would be, you know, if you want input from each of us, will you create something?
So,
I think that's what Mr. Curry did last year. but
so, yeah,
That's Mr. Curry.
what I was gonna mention this before we go to adjournment, is that I will send out what we've got in the request so far. We do have 2 separate meetings to develop our recommendations. So of course, any input from the one can be changed pretty quickly in preparing the full request for the next one. I'll send out a draft of what we have so far with the spreadsheet, so just so that we're all aware of what's going on probably in the next week, so that everybody's ahead of time, so that they can look through, see if there's anything that they want to fix or correct from the department head narratives, other than getting to, you know, the final bits and pieces of it. I think it'd be appropriate for us to just look at that at our next meeting, develop our recommendations, or start to work through it, because it's the only way we can really talk about them is at a meeting. And then make those adjustments and then talk and finalize that at the next meeting. I think that would be, do you understand what I'm saying? Will?
Yes.
Yes.
I do.
So Sure.
Yep, it's just, it's a process. We have to follow a process.
Yes,
And that's gonna include anything they've asked for prior years that have not been.
the
Are we gonna
spread,
have those items as well,
the
or,
spreadsheet. Already. I'll look at the format that we've done in the past.
because they keep saying, I've asked for this, but.
Yeah.
So it's added, I haven't gotten that, are we
Yes.
gonna see the items that they asked for but haven't received yet?
Right. That's a good.
I mean, they're still looking for them, some of them, so
There's also a couple
do
of
we
items.
consider
that-
those?
There's also a couple items I can think of that have been asked for in the past and. But Chief Dickey asked for remodeling of the fire station for $30-odd thousand as opposed to a $100,000 request for a study last year. So I'm assuming that the $100,000 request is either in limbo or withdrawn or.
I'll send out what we've done and I will include everything that we've been presenting in the past, just to see that and check off.
Yeah, I think it'd be very helpful to see what has been done in the past and,
I know, because we get a lot of these requests and. Yeah, no, I agree. Anyone else have anything else they want to comment on? Mr. Todd? Mr. Francis?
I think so.
So you're all set. All right, I'm all set as well. Okay. With that, we come to the close of our meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion, second, we'll go straight to the vote. How do you vote, Mr. Toe?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Ms. Richardson?
Yes.